Now I'm just going to show you how I age my ephemera. And there's different ways of doing this. Everybody does it a little bit differently, but this is my way. So I have a little half pint of strong coffee, instant coffee, that I just made up in this jar. I make up a big jar, well, this size jar, and then if I don't use it all right away, I'll put it in the fridge so it doesn't mold. It will mold eventually, but. And then this is just a makeup sponge that you just get from the dollar store. There's cotton pads. You can use a cotton ball as well. And I just dip it into the coffee here. And I don't want it super wet because this is an inkjet printer and it will bleed if it gets too wet. So I turn it to the back and then I just quickly smear the coffee on the back. Not being too worried about what it looks like. We're going to put other things on top of this as well. You don't want it too wet. You don't want to have pools of the coffee because it will bleed a little bit in the front, which it's okay if it bleeds a little bit because it is, you know, aged ephemera, but you know, you can do a little swirlies. You can, you know, add a little this kind of thing however you want. And there, you just let that dry. It won't take long to dry because it's not very wet. And I just do a pile of these at once. I print out a whole bunch. I printed out, I don't know, I think I had 12 pages initially of this ephemera, and I just did them all at once. And it doesn't take very long, and you leave them to dry and they'll dry. So I'm just going to put this one aside to dry because I don't want to do the next step until it is dry. So I'll just show you on one of these pieces what else I would do. So just get this one maybe. And what I've already done on this one is I took my, I'll do it maybe with a different color here. I took my distress pad and I just smushed a little bit on my glass mat here. Gave it a little spray of water. And then I just kind of drag it through there, and it just kind of makes a little smear there. And then when that dries, it just gives a nice little another layer to the distressing. So I did that to a few of these, like this one for instance. I drug it through some vintage photo, and I think that just gives it a nice little look. So I'll put that one aside until that one dries. And then what you probably want to do is to ink all of the edges. Just do it on the glass mat. And what I do actually is when I have things to ink like this, I do ink it right onto my glass mat, and then I have excess ink here. I spray it with water and I use it to age my next piece of ephemera. So I get real messy here for a little while, and then I use all of those good bits of ink. So there, that's looking good probably already. So another thing I do is I kind of crumple it, and I don't crumple it like, you know, completely, but I crumple it, you know, enough that I get some folds, and I just sort of ink where those folds are. And I'll do that a couple of times in different places and just kind of give it a little bit of. And this is just paper, guys, and it's not, you know, it's not real antique paper. So if you you make a mistake, if you rip it, if ripping is good because it makes it look more authentic. But you know, you can't really, you know, if you really hate the result, you can always just do it again. So there, we wrinkled it a little bit, and we added a little bit more of some ink on those, dark ink on those edges. This one actually naturally kind of has a little fold there, and I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of glue there and fold that, and then it'll be like a permanent fold. It won't unfold. And then you can kind of, you know, take an edge and just sort of rip a little bit out like that and ink that as well. usually right on the corners, and you know where you have something ripped or something like that is where the darker edges will be. So you can just do that like that. Probably put a little bit more on that side. Here I'm going to show you, just going to do a little rip and then ink that edge, and I have to just grab something. I'll be right back. Well, my second turned into an hour and a half, as sometimes that happens around here, or probably around everybody's place, but it gave me a chance to make some faux tape, faux vintage tape, which is what I wanted to show you, and let it dry. So it doesn't take that long to dry. Alcohol ink, I make mine with alcohol inks, and it does dry quite quickly. So these are, you can use any color for this. I like to kind of use a little bit of a mix. So I have latte, rust, and butterscotch here. I'm not sure if they still sell them in exact same colors or if they have the distress colors now, but these are quite old. They last forever. And I just have one of these old, I'll just show you how I do one here. I just have one of these old photo sleeve things. I have a whole bunch of these at the moment. So I use the plastic here, but you could probably even put it on the glass mat, put it on anything where the tape is not going to stick to. So I just take some regular Scotch tape and put a few strips. Doesn't really matter. You can reuse this piece of plastic, so I got all crooked, which probably would give it an interesting effect, so maybe I'll just leave that a little bit. I'll just put a few here. And then I use one of my cotton puffs that I showed you earlier. And I'll just show you the different colors here. So this is the latte. So I just kind of, you could do them all one color. You don't have to have all these colors. I just happen to have them, so I play with them. So there's the latte color. Here's the butterscotch color, which is quite a yellowy color, which I like for the vintage tape. So you can see the difference there. You can kind of layer them, mix them, whatever. And then this is the rust color. So I just put a little bit of this on. Just a little bit here and there. And it dries quite quickly. And then you can use it as faux vintage tape. So I'll just let that one just dry for a second, and I have this one already done. So I'll just peel off a little piece of tape. And you can even peel it lengthwise so that it's not so wide, which kind of gives a nice effect. So back to our piece that we were working on, and I ripped that little piece there. I can put some tape on, kind of do it over the edge, and even put this other one on the back. Just rip that off there, and maybe just add another little piece down here somewhere. So see how that gives it just a really nice vintage look. It's a little bit of a texture as well. So lots of different things you can do. I didn't ink the back with my crinkles, so maybe I'll just do that just a little bit here as well. I mean, you could do as much or as little as you want with this, but if you kind of give the sharp creases there and then ink along it, it just gives it kind of a neat look. So there we've got the back and the front. And if you want to kick it up even a little bit more, I have here a coffee stain stamp. You could use a real coffee stain as well if you wanted to. and you could just give it a little bit of a coffee stain here and there. So now you have a piece of ephemera that I don't have an original one without anything on it, but here's the one that we coffee dyed earlier. So it would originally look, you know, something like this. This is already distressed somewhat, but this is our aged piece now. So now if we tuck this into a pocket, I think it will look like a true vintage piece of ephemera. So there you go. That was just a little demonstration of that process.